Hello dear viewers, I decided to make a quick tutorial on Alchemy in Kingdom Come Deliverance because at first it can seem very imposing and very difficult, but it's actually quite simple, and there are a few tricks that will enable you to make those potions really quickly and level up fairly quickly. So I've been doing this for about 30 minutes now, and I got the whole thing out. Let me just show you how my alchemy. So I'm on level 9 alchemist currently. Not very impressive, as you can see, and well, it can get a lot better, that's what I mean. In any case, let's start right with it. I apologize that it's so dark, but unfortunately that's how it is. It's day outside, but the bench is still dark. So let's first take a look at the recipes. Once you actually, let me just give you a complete tutorial for the ones who are starting right now and have no idea what this is. So in this game you're going to do alchemy at these special alchemy tables. You have this book. You need to buy recipes from the different herbalists who you will find all over the map, and then you open your book, you just go through the pages to the recipe you want, and I will intentionally pick a very complicated recipe to show you how much it can get simplified once you know what to do. But first we're gonna do it the right way, so let's see, where is it? I liked one with cobweb, that one was complicated enough. And just find it. Come on, where are you? I don't have that many, but now it looks like I do. Okay, that's the one, pat food. So as you can see, we have 4 ingredients here. The first thing that you always need to do is take a look on the right side of the book and always pay attention what your basis is. That will be the top, aqua, that will be water, and it says it in the recipe, of course. And then you want to take a look at all the ingredients that you have in here and how many you have to use, because sometimes there's a number 2 next to the X. You need to use 2 of something, and it's gonna tell you in the first paragraph of the book, but then it's not gonna tell you in the later instructions. So you need to think about that. That's how I messed up most of the recipes at the beginning. It's because I wasn't paying attention that I need to use 2 herbs instead of 1, and it just says put herb X into the cauldron, and I've just put 1 instead of 2. So here we can see the whole thing, and we're gonna start off easily. So you need to add water, a handful of valerian, blah blah blah. So it starts from drop the cobweb and eyebrow in the cauldron. So that's what we're gonna do. We're gonna drop it first with water. So we saw it's with water in the recipe. Here it is, water, aqua. We're gonna add that to the cauldron, and then we are going to do our recipe. Actually, I just realized I forgot to initiate the recipe from the book. So what you need to do here is, on PC you are going to hold E. You see on the right side of my screen I have the instructions, and it says prepare E. So if you have all the recipes, you can do this, and now all your herbs are up on the table. And we're starting over again. Water, we're adding water to the cauldron as I just done, and then we're going to add the first 2 herbs. Actually it's just a herb and cobweb, right? Let me see, cobweb and eyebrow into the cauldron. So we're gonna add those, and I'm doing everything now a bit slower so you can just, you know, see how it's done. If you're a complete beginner, you're a level 0 alchemist, this is how you would do it, although there are simpler recipes. And then the cobweb, here we go, and we're dumping that into the cauldron. Alright, and now the game tells me that it wants us to boil the mixture for 3 turns, and this is where my first pro tip comes in. This is something that I found out through trial and error. Now what you would usually do is you would press Q, and this is 1 pull. You see you heat it up. Now I'm gonna press again, starting to get warmer, and a 3rd time, and it's boiling, and we need to boil it 3 turns. So 3 pulls equal 1 turn. So I'm gonna do another 6 pulls there. There we go. How do I know this? Well, I've timed it. Usually you have to use the sand glass, you flip it and you time it, how many pulls for how long. And I've used my experience now to tell you that 3 pulls are always 1 turn of boiling. So while this thing is boiling, let's read further on. What does it want from us? So the next point that we need to take care is grinding the valerian. Alright, not a problem. Here's the valerian. Where is it? We take some valerian, and we know it's just 1, so we're putting 1 into the mortar and we're grinding it. There we go. Grinding the valerian, pretty easy as you've seen, and you can do this with pretty much every herb. It's always the same principle. And then let's see what the book says. I can read from here. Grind the valerian, add the valerian to the cauldron and boil for 1 turn. Simple. So we're adding this, and then we're gonna pull 3 times, because we've already found out that pulling it 3 times basically is 1 turn. There we go, 3 pulls. So it's gonna boil now for a turn, but I'm just gonna demonstrate how it would be normally. So I would flip this sand glass, and we would wait for all the sand to go down. And as you can see, it appears to be a little bit longer, the sand glass, but that's simply because my flip wasn't on time. We have nothing to worry about. I've timed this perfectly. 3 pulls are absolutely enough. So the Valerian is done now. It says leave the cauldron to cool and then grind the chamomile. So what we're going to do is, once the cauldron cools, and it's going to be cold when it completely doesn't grow, now it's cool, and we're going to take our chamomile and we're going to grind that. Here we go, boom. And as you can see in the book, it says add the chamomile to the cauldron, do not boil. So that means for us, essentially, once we've ground this, we've added it to the cauldron, it does not require any kind of heat. The instructions are very clear. It's basically reminiscent of a driving course. Whenever the instructor doesn't tell you something, it means you don't get to do it. We have nothing about heat here. It says but do not boil, but pay attention that this will actually not be on all recipes. On some it will just say add the chamomile to the cauldron and that's it. If it doesn't tell you simmer for this many turns or boil for this many turns, then you do not apply any kind of heat. It's that simple. So essentially we're done now. If we use the file now, we need to hold E here. If we use it, it should be obvious to us that everything's gone fine and we've made a potion. Let's see. Boom. Badfoot potion. Now here's where we go with the pro tips. Now you have to consider that as you are doing this, you can actually afford to make one mistake in every recipe. This is how the game is designed. It's going to accept one mistake. So this is if you have not leveled up anything. So that's what we're gonna do. I'm gonna actually create it again in the same way, but this time I will purposefully make one mistake. And just to make everything easier, the mistake that I'll make will be the boiling. I will just not boil for 3 turns. This sounds like it's an extreme thing to do, but it should actually be fine. So we said water, yeah, water. And I have not tested this with one mistake because I already have the skill for 2 mistakes, so I'll explain that in a moment. But let's go with one mistake first. So water, and then we are going to add our cobweb. Here we go. And then we are going to add, what was it, I think, eyebright. Yeah, eyebright. There we go. And that's one, and each of these are steps, so a mistake is skipping a step. Although I have, to be honest, not tried to skip putting a herb inside, but that will get you gain nothing from that because the herbs are used no matter what, if you use them properly or not. So we've put the eyebright in the cauldron and the cobweb. Now it says boil the mixture for 3 turns. This is going to be our mistake, so this saves us time. So next step, grind the valerian, add it to the cauldron and boil for 1 turn. So I'm going to grind the valerian, where is it? Here it is. Into the mortar. And we're going to grind it. And I really hope this works with the one mistake because as I've said, I've actually not tried it on this recipe. And it's always a bit of trial and error, but I'm fairly certain that this should be pretty cool. So let's see it. We're adding it and we have not pre-boiled this mixture at all. So it had to be boiled for 3 turns. We did not do that. So now we have to boil for 1 turn. That means 3 pulls. 3 pulls constitute 1 turn. There we go. And then we're gonna check what's next. So we said we boil the valerian, and now it says leave cauldron to cool. This is something we need to do because we've already blown our mistake. Grind chamomile and add it. Alright, so as this is cooling, I'm gonna grind the chamomile. Let's see. There it is. Boom, in the mortar. And we are going to grind it and add it and finish our potion. This is it. Basically we just had to boil for 1 turn. Everything else we more or less threw in there and that's it. And again, this is as complicated as a recipe can get. You know, you have the simmer recipes that feel more complicated but really aren't, especially once you know that you can actually just make an intentional mistake. So here we go, we're finishing it. As I've said, we did not boil it for 3 turns. That was the one mistake we did with intention. And let's see if we got it. Boom, we got it. Now here's where things get really interesting, because I want to show you what alchemy gives you. It's called Trial and Error, and it's unlocked fairly early at level 5. And this, you're gonna get to level 5 fairly quickly. And it says when brewing you can make one extra mistake without affecting the results. And this is where things go really crazy. So we're gonna intentionally do that now. Let me just select the recipe again because I had to go out of the alchemy table in order to show you my skills. Hold on, let me find it again. So knowing we can make 2 mistakes is going to simplify the recipes extremely, and it's going to make them much faster in terms of how long it takes you to make them. So I don't have auto brew yet. I'm gonna unlock it. I haven't tried that yet, but with this I don't even know if you really need it. There we go. So pad food again. So again, let's discuss which steps I'm going to intentionally skip, and these are going to be the heat. So because that takes the longest time and is the most complicated in my opinion. So all we have here is we have to add water and then cobweb and eyebright. So let's do that again. That was our first mistake and we're recreating it. Whoops, I forgot to prepare it by holding E. There we go. So we're gonna add water. Where is it? There it is. Water in there. And we are going to add the cobweb and eyebright in whatever order you like. Order of adding things is only important if it's on different steps. So it says cobweb and eyebright. It doesn't matter if you add the eyebright first and the cobweb second, or the cobweb first and the eyebright second. Alright, and we're skipping the 3 turns of boiling. So what does it say? Boil mixture for 3 turns. We're intentionally making that mistake. Then grind the valerian, add valerian to the cauldron and boil for 1 turn. And again, we're gonna skip the boiling here. Intentional second mistake. So we're going to grind the valerian and then grind the chamomile is the next step. As you see, leave the cauldron to cool. Our cauldron is already cool, so that's not a mistake. So the next one is grind the chamomile. We're going to do that as well. So our 2 mistakes are if we ignore the information about the potion, basically in the second paragraph, the boiling of the mixture for 3 turns, and then the boiling of the I think valerian. Yeah, of the valerian for 1 turn. So again, what we are going to do now is we're going to grind valerian and grind chamomile, and I'm even going to go 1 step further and grind them both at the same time because I'm skipping everything in between and just going to make the potion. And I know I've talked a lot, so I'll do it again just to show you, but valerian here, there you go, into the mortar, and in this particular case chamomile into the mortar as well, and grind. And you would not do this if you were to follow the recipe strictly, simply because there is a process between these 2. But since we are intentionally skipping that process, we can actually grind both at once, dump them in the cold cauldron, which is already cold since it's never been heated up in this recipe since we've started, and just finish it. And those are 2 intentional mistakes we made, and it should still be okay. We should still have our potion. And now I've been doing a lot of talking, so it, you know, as you see, it worked. And I've been doing a lot of talking, so I'll intentionally do it once the way I would do it now that I have already done it several times and I have some experience, without talking so much about the individual steps. So I mean, I will talk, but I won't be looking at the book as much. So as always, our base in this case is water. Then we're gonna add the cobweb. There goes the cobweb. Then we're gonna add the eyebright. There it goes. Inside, now I would want us to boil for 3 turns. We're intentionally skipping it. Then valerian, which needs to be ground. Boom. And usually now we would grind the valerian, but we are intentionally not grinding it yet because the next step would be boiling and we're skipping that. So chamomile, which needs to be ground as well. Boom, into the mortar. And we're grinding both because essentially the steps require that both of these herbs are ground. So we're just skipping the heat. And the cauldron, another step is that the cauldron needs to be cold while we add these. Since we've never warmed it up, it already is cold. It's actually never been warm. And we're gonna add our vial. There we go. And our potion is done. So all we're doing in this so complicated recipe is that we just add stuff and grind a little bit. Let's do one more time with even less talking, in the sense that I will try to go even faster, just to show you how quickly you can actually do it if you're on your own and you don't have to talk to other people about it. Although, you know, talking is not a problem, I enjoy doing it, but I can be faster if I am more concentrated on what I'm doing rather than, you know, explaining it so much. But essentially, like I said, and this applies to all recipes, you can really, as soon as you reach level 5, you can really go nuts and just shortcut your way to the higher levels. I mean, as you can see, it's still gonna take a while. I leveled up, I think, 2 levels or 3 levels in one whole in-game day. So I've been sitting here at the bench and just doing alchemy, experimenting, trying to figure out the different times for the turns and stuff, and I figured it all out. And then I thought to myself, hey, I'll share it with my viewers. Maybe it'll help them and make alchemy easier, because it was pretty intimidating at first when I saw this table and I started touching it and I was totally confused. But no. And another thing I want to say about the distilling, because some recipes will require for you to distill something. I will intentionally now do the recipe again, but then I will actually make a mistake differently this time so I can show the distilling process. So I will distill where distillation is not necessary, that's all. Just to explain how distilling works, because at first I also was a little bit confused as to why. But so we've understood how we can make intentional mistakes. This is all about just intentionally showing you the distilling process rather than making an intentional mistake. So we're gonna add the eyebright. There we go. And now, since I have only I have 2 mistakes, but I want to distill, so I need a third one. That means that I will actually boil this for 3 turns now. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. So why did I pull 3 times, 9 times? Well, as I've said, 3 pulls equal 1 turn. That's what I figured out. Okay, so this is what we've done. We've basically done this part, and now we can continue on with the rest of it as before. That's it. So we take the chamomile and valerian and we grind them. In the meantime, we have to also make sure that our cauldron cools down, because that's a requirement here. But that's nothing to worry about. Your valerian, we're gonna grind it. So far until this point, we actually we're doing fine with the recipe, and we intentionally made the first mistake by adding by basically skipping the second heat process, and therefore we add both herbs, because as you can see in the book it says boil for 3 turns. We just did that. Then it says grind valerian. We are grinding valerian. Add valerian to the cauldron and boil for 1 turn, and that's what we're intentionally skipping. So now that's our first mistake. Leave cauldron to cool. It's cool now. Then grind chamomile. We've intentionally added it here and ground it. And then it says add chamomile to cauldron but do not boil. So far we've done everything but one thing. We haven't boiled once. So we have a second mistake available, and this is what I will use to show you the distillation. So you take a file like this, and then you intentionally go to still. And this is a mistake. You're not supposed to do that, but since we have 2 mistakes in each recipe thanks to the perk, I can do it. I just want to show you how that works, and it's actually quite simple until you get used to it, until you realize what's happening, because now you can't look around much, and it just doesn't, you don't see much. But what you actually need to do is you need to heat up again, because under the still you still have fire, and that is necessary for the liquid to evaporate. So that's how you would use that. And as you can see, it worked, although I added a whole different step to it simply because that's one mistake, and one mistake is absolutely okay. And of course, if you go with simpler things, just to show you how much faster it can go, let's just improvise. I actually could use a saving potion, so let's make a saving potion. Let's see where it was. Come on. There it is, save your schnapps. Alright, so as you can see, this is a really simple recipe. It tells us wine, 2 handfuls of belladonna, and that's where you need to pay attention. Look, it says 2 handfuls at first, but then later on it just says grind the belladonna. It doesn't say the 2 handfuls. And then it says drop it into it. So let's take a look. We add nettles And it says grind belladonna, boil nettles for 2 turns, drop belladonna, boil for 1 turn. So what I'm essentially going to do here is I am going to boil, no, you know what? I'm going to add both things and I'm not going to boil at all. Yeah, that's what I'm going to do. I'm just going to be adding stuff. So these are going to be our 2 mistakes. So it's wine, nettles, and ground belladonna. Alright, so let's do it. So intentional 2 mistakes. You can see in such a simple recipe with the 2 mistakes, we've simplified it so much that it's almost unnecessary to even think as you do it. We've added wine because you always need the basis. Then we're going to add nettle. Here it is. And this should still work. I haven't tried it on this particular recipe. I haven't tried it on most recipes, but it should work. 2 belladonnas need to be ground. Like I said, it said 2 at the beginning. And no heating whatsoever because this is we've made our 2 mistakes basically by not providing heat for the recipe at all. It should work just fine. So wine, nettle, grinding 2 belladonnas, and that's it. And this makes it faster, and it's also kind of fun to just experiment and see what kind of mistakes you can make, how much you can simplify all the various recipes. Alchemy is extremely useful. It's very, very good for fighting, especially if your character is a weakling like mine. I'm mostly a thief, as you can see it worked. So I don't really like open confrontation. I've just started learning sword fighting and stuff. So being able to enhance my abilities in this way with potions, especially the statistics that I'm not good with, such as warfare and swordsmanship, really helps, and these potions can make a huge difference. Another thing that I really enjoy is the potion that makes you see in the dark. It's actually really good. I didn't expect it, but it also is kind of realistic. If you've played The Witcher and you remember in The Witcher you would use a potion which would, I think it was called Cat Eye Potion, which would enable you to see in the dark, changes colors a little bit and stuff. Well, here is different. It dilates your pupils so more light goes in, and it really works in this way. If you're in a place with lighting, you see everything much brighter and it's not a problem. If you are in complete darkness, it makes no difference, so you still need a light source. I actually went hunting in the night and used this potion, and in the forest where there weren't too many trees, it was completely illuminated. It felt very, very easy to see and you know, just aim at my targets. And if I went where the trees are and there's not enough light, it made a huge difference. So yeah, this is my tutorial. I hope it has helped you. If you have any kind of questions, be sure to leave in the comment section for me. I'll try to answer all of them and help you as much as I can. But I think this simplifies alchemy significantly, and it's just a fun thing to play with and just figure out all the things you can do with it without having to think too much. It's really a fun thing. I really enjoy it. The game's a lot of fun. My review is still being made, so it's gonna take a while. Well, not that long, maybe a few days to a week maximum, because I've already played it for a whole week and I'm crazy. I'm doing so many things. So if you've enjoyed this video, be sure to leave a thumbs up. It helps my channel, and it's gonna help for others to see it and therefore distribute the video and help others that need the help with this kind of work in the game with alchemy. And I've already said the word help way too many times. Thanks for again, thanks for watching. Have a great day, and I hope you enjoy this game as much as I have.